with the Aussizz group. Today, our live session is about trade courses and its career outcomes. First of all, I will introduce myself. My name is Hina Sami. I'm qualified education counselor and working as a destination specialist at Aussizz Group Collins Street office. I have Ms. Gunjan Malik with me. She's a registered migration agent and practicing as a migration agent since 2008. Now, to start with, I would like to tell you the importance of trade courses and explain you how it is different from master's and bachelor's programs in Australia. As you all know, the trade business is one of the growing industry in Australia. The skilled trade employees are high in demand and the employers are frequently finding it difficult to fill the job positions as a qualified trade person. If I compare trade courses with other courses, I can say fees has big difference. So I can say fees are more affordable as compared to higher education. Course duration are somehow shorter than higher education. Courses involve practical and hands-on experience-based. It has high earning opportunities as compared to non-technical occupations offered in the providers. Also, it has pathways to higher education with credits. So if you wish to continue education, you will have pathway with credit exemption that will save your time as well as money. Some providers have arrangements for work-based trainings as well, where students get opportunities to work in the industry under the supervision of seniors or professionals, which may lead them to secure a job in future. Also, we have been in touch with the providers on regular basis. So if the scholarship are also available, where student can save more money. Some providers are also providing weekend classes that can suit your schedule accordingly. The third thing, the most important thing is COE initial deposit have been reduced in many education provider that is very, very low as compared to higher education. Also, the payment plans available monthly or quarterly basis depends on the providers. And the foremost thing is it has PR pathways. So for those students or those people who are seeking PR in future, they have better opportunities. Some of common trade courses are commercial cookery. So you can complete certificate in commercial cookery program that can lead to the technical skills to become chef or cook. There is another program, baking. So if you can complete certificate in baking, that will help you learn techniques to become a baker. Then you can also study automotive program, certificate 3, including light vehicle or heavy vehicle or diesel mechanical technology that will lead you to become motor mechanic or diesel mechanic in future. Fabrication is another very good program. So you can complete certificate in fabrication and welding that will lead you to become a welder or metal fabricator in future. Also, there is one more telecommunication program that has advanced diploma, and it will also lead you to become a telecommunication technologist or technician. There are some more as well, but before telling you that, I would say the entry requirements of these courses. So the course entry requirements are so simple, and majority student can meet the entry requirements easily. So the first requirement is IELTS, that is 5.5 band, or you maybe get an exemption if you have studied in Australia already. The second entry requirement is the age. You should be 18 or above. And the third minimum requirement is you have at least completed year 10 or higher qualification. I will now request Ms. Gunjan Malik to explain us about the skill assessment and visa options in these occupations.
Thank you, Hina. That was useful information about the trade courses, because there are a lot of trade courses like motor mechanic, chef, welder, but all the nominated occupations have different pathways. Um, so my name is Gunjan, and I work as a registered migration agent with Aussizz Group, and I will speak about some of the provisional skill assessment and the full skill assessment requirements. And everybody can put up questions, and I'll try to cover up as much migration questions as I can in the live session, and the rest of the questions I'm more than happy to address later. Now, while was talking about the courses, Derek has mentioned that already done with trade course, but Home Affairs are not giving permanent residency through trade courses. Derek, you are absolutely, I'm partially right as well, that it is a bit competitive at the moment, and department has prioritized occupations in health and critical sector in terms of state sponsorships or permanent residency pathways, even in terms of the health and critical sector. So they are prioritizing applications in the health and critical sector, but there will be future pathways, and obviously our main motive is to plan ahead. There is no immediate solution, definitely, but there are a lot of job opportunities coming up in the regional areas, as per some of the articles, as well as per the data that has been released for the job opportunities. That it is an upcoming industry, definitely. So our plan is to pre-plan the future about in terms of the trade occupations. Now, when we talk about the trade occupation courses, there is a pathway towards the skill assessment. It's a very common terminology, which is called the job ready program, that most of the students are already aware of. But there are some of the aspects that I would like to address regarding the step by step procedure, because most of the trade occupations have this pathway. So it's a common pathway to most of the trade occupations. Now, that is a step by step process provided by the Trade Recognition of Australia. First one is the provisional skill assessment. Now, to be eligible for a provisional skill assessment, obviously you have to you have to be an international student. You have to be on a student visa to study in Australia. You must have a qualification that will be assessed by the Trade Recognition of Australia, and you should be registered for a course which is CRICOS registered. The minimum hours of 360 hours. So you need to provide evidence of 360 hours of employment in a vocational placement as well. So it can be as a paid, or it can be a placement as well, completed in an Australian workplace. It cannot be overseas. It has to be at an employer who is based in Australia. Depending on the trade, that employer must be using the industry standard equipments. Like, for example, if you are working as a chef, so you should be working in an environment where the right tools and equipments are being used, same as for motor mechanics. So the environment should be correct. Keep it in mind that the employment has to be within 3 years of prior to applying the job ready program. Now, next step for the job ready is the job ready employment. Now, the purpose of doing the job ready employment, whether it's for any trade course, is the pathway to the skilled migration program. So you will be doing the job ready employment if you have a purpose to apply for a skilled migration visa. To register yourself for job ready employment, the applicants must find an employment in their nominated occupation. So if you have a certificate for in commercial cookery, then you have to find an employment as a chef. And then you have to submit your employment for job ready employment through the online portal. Now, the employment completed prior to the registration for job ready employment, that can also be considered, but such employment will only be considered where suitable evidence is provided. Now, it is the TRA decision to accept or reject any employment, but we will be able to assess whether that employment is recognized for the job ready employment or not. Now, then comes the job ready workplace assessment. I can take up a question in between. Ramiz is asking, Any chance for bricklayer or tile maker? I'm left with 1 year of visa on 485. Ramiz, I just want to know, do you have any work experience that for a bricklayer or a tile maker? And is your employer in a regional area, or or the employer is based in a metro region? If not skilled migration, I can look up the other relevant visas that you might be eligible for, or any regional area state sponsorship or employer sponsorship, whether it's 494 or 187. I can have a look at the other visa options for you. So you are more than happy to have a consultation with you regarding your future visa pathways. Sayed is asking, is it possible to get a permanent residency if I'm done with my 485 in future doing a trade course? So Sayed, as we are discussing that all trade courses have different pathways, but you do need to get a skill assessment, first. So based on your course, I will have to advise you that what are the skill assessment eligibility criteria. But yes, you do have to do a job ready program, and for that job ready program you need to have 12 months of work experience, 12 months of visa left. That should give you a full-time work rights. That I will discuss in the step 4 and the step 3, which is a job ready workplace assessment and the job ready final assessment. I'll take up a couple of more questions, but I would like to discuss first the job ready workplace assessment now. After doing the 360 hours of provisional skill assessment, you need to register yourself for job ready employment and the job ready workplace assessment. When you have completed the 863 hours of paid employment over a minimum of 6 months, then you can participate in stage 3, which is a job ready workplace assessment. So I again say it has to be a paid employment. I get a lot of inquiries that can I volunteer in the job ready program? No. The answer is no. It has to be a paid employment. The job ready workplace assessment, like itself, it explains that it is a workplace assessment. So you are basically assessed at your workplace. It is conducted in the place of employment. So first you need to register yourself. If you do not register yourself, you cannot be, that period will not be counted for workplace assessment. So we need to make sure that when you have started the employment, your place of work has been registered for the job ready workplace assessment. Then comes the job ready final assessment, where you have to complete 1,725 hours of paid employment over a minimum of 12 calendar months. Now, you must have, that is the reason now why I said that you should have 12 months of visa left with full-time work rights, is because you have to complete those 1,725 hours of paid employment over that minimum period of 12 calendar months. And then only you will be able to complete the job ready workplace assessment. Now, the job ready final assessment will determine whether the participant has satisfied the skill assessment criteria, and then you get the full skill assessment. So the purpose of TRA is that you are skilled enough to be working in that trade. So that is why there is just the whole job ready program. A bit of fees involved is this: the provisional skill assessment costs $300, job ready employment is $500, and the job ready workplace assessment, which I mentioned about the 1,725 hours, is before that you do the job ready workplace assessment, which is $2,000. The final assessment costs $150. So overall, it'll cost you around $2,500 during the whole year to get the job ready program completed. When you're doing the job ready program, because you have been working for 1 year in a paid employment, you can claim 5 points based on that you are working in your nominated occupation for 1 year. So that counts towards your skilled employment. I would also like to address that you can also claim up to 3 consecutive months of paid employment that was undertaken prior to the job ready employment. So for example, if someone forgets to register, you can claim 3 months of prior work experience. Okay, so there are a couple of requirements for the paid employment as well, but keep in mind that you must complete 1,725 hours of paid employment over the 12 calendar months. it can take sometimes people to take longer than 12 calendar months to complete minimum number of hours if you are part-time, which is absolutely fine, but you should have that much of visa left. So you can participate in more than 12 months, but not less than 12 months, because you have to complete the minimum number of hours if you have worked more than 38 hours per week. With where overtime is or penalty loadings are paid, only the actual work hours will contribute to the employment. So even if you're working 70 hours a week or 80 hours a week, you will still count minimum 38 hours. So you still have to complete 12 months of work experience. I'll take up this question because Kumar is asking, I have done certificate 3 in carpentry, but I'm confused from where should I do my job ready program, Victoria or Adelaide, because that's a very common question that I get from my clients. Now, Kumar, just want to check how much is your visa left. Are you going to lodge your TR? So if you've done your cert 3 in carpentry, so I'm assuming that obviously you've got an employer. So first want to check whether you have an employer or not. So I would like to check your eligibility for South Australia, because I have a couple of clients who are working in South Australia, and I recently had invitations for 491. But however, I want to check, where is your employer based? Are they based in outer regional area? Are they based in Greater Adelaide, or whereabouts in which is the postcode of your employer? So Kumar, if you would like to book a consultation with me, that will be great, because I would really like to guide you through that which state would be the best option for you right now based on the current rules, that potentially what is beneficial for you to do your job ready program work in South Australia, and which postcode of South Australia. Victoria, yes, a little bit difficult because they're inviting candidates in health and critical sector at the moment. So South Australia could be a better option for you, but let's discuss it further. Now, I would let Hina talk about the other trade courses, and I will continue to speak after about the required documents for the skill assessment. So I would like to discuss some of the documents that will be required for the skill assessment as well, and then I'll get on to some questions that people are asking. So I will let Hina talk about the other trade courses that are very helpful, because there are a lot of courses that, like she's discussing, that are much cheaper than the bachelor high degree courses. And based on those courses, I'll be able to address which states would be better opportunities for you regarding the skilled migration pathway. So Hina, you can take over and let our clients know about the other courses as well.
Thank you, Gunjan. It was really useful. Thank you. Now, there are few more trade programs which are a little bit competitive in terms of tuition fees as compared to commercial cookery or automotive program. So that is civil design course, that is advanced diploma of civil construction and design, that will lead you to become a civil draft person in future, or after that it could be a carpentry course, that is certificate 3 program in carpentry, which will provide some technical knowledge about carpentry and jointer. After this, there are courses in painting and decorating, like certificate 3 in painting and decoration, or maybe bricklaying and block laying. After that, after completing that course, you can become a bricklayer. And also some solid plastering courses. It's mainly, they will teach you about solid plastering that can lead you to become a solid plasterer. Also, floor tiling certificate. So certificate in floor tiling that will lead you to become a wall and floor tiler. And there are so many others as well. These were some popular courses where students would like to inquire and study, because they comparatively find job easily in these courses. So again, I'll come to the entry requirement of these courses. If you are doing a diploma or advanced diploma, the minimum qualification is year 12 or higher. If you are doing a certificate 3, certificate 4 kind of courses, then the minimum qualification requirement is year 10 or over. IELTS is again same. All providers or trade providers are asking for 5.5 minimum score, or equivalent in PTE if you have a PTE available. In terms of IELTS exemption, there will be exemption provided if you have studied something in Australia and if you qualify to get the exemption accordingly. And the minimum age should be 18. So the bottom line here is, it is very important these days to select the better career pathway for yourself, so you can take full benefit of it. Please feel free to contact me anytime on 0452 193 806 for detailed and customized consultations about the courses, the fees, the structure, the weekend classes, and everything we discussed about the courses. I'll now request Ms. Gunjan again to provide more information about skill assessment and the documentation required.
Thank you, Hina, about the information about the courses. And I would also like to mention, when I was talking about the trade recognition of Australia doing the skill assessment, there are some courses that do not require the job ready program, like the telecommunication and the civil draft person. So if you have completed a qualification in civil draft person as a telecommunication engineer as well, the Engineers Australia does not need job ready program. So not all courses, trade courses, need a job ready program, depending on the skill assessment authority, what are the requirements. So you can get in touch with us so we can assess the eligibility, whether you will be needing the job ready program or not, or it doesn't need the job ready program. We can apply for skill assessment directly. I will take up some question before I speak about the documents required and the other assessing authority, which is VETAssess, because VETAssess also assesses some of the trade occupations as well. So we can talk about that later. I'll take up a question regarding the RPL that Jatinder has asked, because that's one of the very common questions. And I do have a lot of clients, especially as chef and baker, who have 3 to 4 years of work experience, but they do not hold a certificate 3 or a certificate 4. That's a very common scenario, because especially for people who have work experience, but they do not hold any certificate 4, and they do not have enough visa left to do cert 3, cert 4, and also people who have already exhausted their 485. So you can't lodge your 485 again, and you can't do your job ready again. You can't do a job ready program if you've already held a 485 visa before, and you can't lodge, you cannot do a job ready program if you don't have full work rights. So you can apply for RPL, Jatinder, but it depends on the country of passport. For example, if your country of passport is India and you are in Australia, and you cannot participate in a job ready program, it has to go through the offshore migration skill assessment pathway. For the migration skill assessment pathway for non-licensed trade, you must have 5 years of work experience, and your 12 months must be full-time in the last 3 years. So Jatinder, based on your work experience, it depends on which occupation it is, because all occupations have different pathways towards RPL. Now, keep in mind that you would want to spend money on recognition of prior learning if there is an intention to apply for some visa. So not all visa pathways will have, you can utilize your RPL certificate. So I would request that if you're applying for an RPL, so use it wisely, that what are your intentions to apply for a recognition of prior learning certificate, whether it's any trade. So you can get in touch with me. I will leave my contact details in the messages below, and you can get in touch with me on my email address or mobile number. Kamran is asking any possibility for permanent residency for biochemist. It depends, Kamran, that how many points you are on at the moment, and how much work experience do you have? Do you have a job offer? So I'll have to look for different state sponsorship options and how many points you are on at the moment for your expression of interest. So I will like to assess your eligibility. Another client is asking, you finished Bachelor of Social Work last year December, now on 485 visa and working as a coordinator in regional area. So you can let me know which regional area you are working in. Different regional areas have different requirements. Like, for example, in New South Wales, Northern Inland and Orana, you could be working anywhere in New South Wales regional area. So not specifically that you must be working in that particular regional area to be sponsored. They do have a minimum requirement of 12 months work experience. So your 12 months work experience should be just previous 12 months before you apply for your 491. So that 12 months cannot be any time during your lifetime. It has to be 12 months previous, just before you apply for your 491, the nomination for the state sponsorship for regional area. So it really depends that which regional area you are working in. And keep in mind that all regional states have different requirements. They have their own list of occupations. So Orana, Northern Inland, Southern Inland, Hunter, which is another participating region in New South Wales, they have different occupations in their particular list. So I'll have to check whether your occupation falls into the category. So I'll be able to assess your eligibility separately. You can get in touch with me for the consultation. Amna is asking that I'm an enrolled nurse working in aged care for regional Victoria for 3 months and living there as well. You can lodge your registration of interest, but I guess you are currently on only 65 points. It's a little bit low score, so I don't give you like false expectations that to get invited. It's 65. It's pretty low. Let's discuss how can you increase your points eligibility and how you can maximize your point score. So you can get in touch with me and I'll check. But yes, it is always good to put the expression of interest if you meet the minimum 65 points. You are currently working, you said, Amna, as an enrolled nurse. So let's see if your employer is happy to sponsor you on a trainee visa, because if you have 12 months of work experience, we can have a look at the trainee visa option, or a 482 if you have 2 years of work experience as an enrolled nurse. So let's see if you're eligible for some other visa and not just skilled migration visa. So we can explore other visa options as well for you. Rakeli is asking, can you help me with the refusal application for citizenship? Rakeli, I would like to discuss why they refused your citizenship application. Most of the common reasons is that you have not fulfilled the criteria of living in Australia for a minimum eligibility period. You might not have fulfilled it, or I'll have to check what is the reason of refusal. Whether we'll be able to help you or not, definitely, but I just want to check first why. So you can email me your refusal letter. You don't need to mention your confidential details here, but I'll leave my email address after this, and I'm more than happy to have a look why the citizenship was refused, whether you failed in the interview or it was your eligibility criteria. Shalika is asking, is it necessary to work in a fine dining restaurant for applying 186 or to get a skill assessment? Shakila, let me know the occupation you are talking about. I assume that you're talking about as a chef or a restaurant manager. In both the scenarios, you may not be eligible if it's just a takeaway. You do need to have a seating arrangement, and there are some criteria I need to check whether the restaurant is in a food court or is it a fine dining. So I would need to check the layout of the restaurant, and there are a lot of other factors depending on which occupation you're looking for. And if you want to get a skill assessment, there is no hard and fast rule that it has to be a fine dining. The skill assessment authorities are not really fussed about it, but there are a lot of other eligibility criteria, but they do verify and they do check whether that is justified, the role is justified in that workplace environment or not. So you can get in touch with me. I would like to check, Shalika, whether you are eligible to apply for skill assessment. Then you should do it as soon as possible and go for the 186 if you have got 3 years of experience. Then I would love to hear back from you. I've got a couple of other questions here for accountants. Accountants is, yes, it's pretty hard to get invited right now unless you're working in the health and critical sector as an accountant. But if you're not eligible for state sponsorship or other skilled migration visas, I would like to check whether you are eligible for other visa options like the employer-sponsored options. We can explore that eligibility for you as well. for chef, it is a restaurant with dine-in, then it's absolutely fine. But there are a lot of other eligibility criteria. But if your question is just about whether it's a dining restaurant, yes, then if it's a dine-in, then it's good. But it shouldn't be a takeaway restaurant. Derek is asking, can you please tell us how long the process can take for permanent residency? Derek, that's a very difficult question to answer, because all permanent residency pathways have different eligibility criteria. All skill assessments take. So permanent residency has got step-by-step process. So it's a skill assessment, and then there's a state sponsorship involved, and it's an expression of interest, and then the visa application. So it could take a couple of months. It's not a couple of weeks thing. It could take a couple of months, again, depending on which assessing authorities it's and which state it is. So depends on that. Got a couple of questions more, which I'm more than happy to address after the session as well. As I said about the documents required about the skill assessment, so I would like to go back to that pathway, because we discussed the trade recognition of Australia. There's another assessing authority, Vet Assess, but they do need a couple of years of experience. So there are two pathways to Vet Assess. I have a couple of clients who don't have an Australian qualification, but if you have 3 or 5 years of employment experience with no formal training or relevant formal training, you might be eligible for skill assessment. So if you do not hold a qualification and you do have a couple of years of experience, you may get in touch with me, and I would love to check the eligibility. That could lead to potentially state sponsorship or employer sponsorship visa pathway. I'll take up another 1 or 2 more questions. Is there any chance for Masters of Hospitality? So Dhara, so if you've done Masters of Hospitality, the assessing authority, you would not be assessed in trade qualification. So I'll have to check whether you have studied management subjects, or if it's in hospitality, whether you can be assessed as a hotel manager or motel manager. Now, hotel and motel manager is, again, it's in the short-term list. So I'll have to check which visa pathways is the right pathway for you. So you could send me your transcript mark sheets. I would love to see what subjects you have studied in the hospitality sector. Do you have any travel exemptions for 489? Samira, it's a very uncertain stage at the moment because of the COVID. There is a travel ban, and every day the rules are changing, and the department and the government is putting travel restrictions on particular countries. So there is no travel exemption for 489 holders, unless if there is something compelling, really compelling reason, you're working in a health and critical sector, we could have a look at that as well. But unfortunately, everybody's stuck where they are. So yeah. With the diploma of hospitality, if you're doing a diploma of hospitality, I would like to see whether have you done your Cert 3 Cert 4 in commercial cookery or any other area, so I can assess your eligibility, what you will be eligible for based on your previous qualification and work experience. So I would request everybody, more than happy to answer your questions. You can leave your comments even after the session has ended, and I'm more than happy to address the questions later as well once the session is ended. So I'll leave it here. Thank you, Hina, for the courses details. That was pretty useful. So for courses and admissions and visa inquiries, you can get in touch with both of us. Hina works as an education consultant. She's very experienced, and she can guide you through the right course pathways. We leave our details at the bottom, and more than happy to answer your questions. And please book your consultation, because it's good to discuss details one-to-one, because we can ask more personalized questions which suits your particular eligibility. Because in general, we can tell you the general eligibility, but in terms of your particular situation, it's good to have a one-to-one discussion. So we'll leave our details here, and thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks.